Hey friends, and welcome back to the Maple Leaf channel. Today we are in Republic of Zarya, and before we plan a single building, I want to show you exactly how far this republic still has to go. Because the whole point of this session is one thing: build a train. Not buy one, build one out of own resources before 1980. So let's talk about what that actually takes. And stick around to the end of this episode, because we will come back to this board and see exactly how much of it we knocked out today. To assemble a train, you need 5 things at once: plastic, electrical components, mechanical components, fabric and steel. And here is what makes trains different from every other production in this game. Nothing tells you how much of each. Every train blueprint is different, everyone needs different amounts. On the top of that, the factory needs both kinds of educated workers, standard and high education. Now go one level down. Plastic needs chemicals and oil. Fabric needs crops and chemicals. And steel needs coal and iron ore. Then above that, mechanical components need steel, electrical components needs plastic, steel and chemicals. Every single one of those is building, not a click on a menu, a factory with its own storages, its own power line, water, sewage and garbage collection, its own road connections and its own workers who have to live somewhere to get to work every morning. That's the whole chain. That's what a train costs. So where does Zarya actually stand? Chemicals, crops, coal all running. Oil too now. We're extracting our own nearby, and that's what's feed gas power plant. And the fabric, as it turns out, we've been making for years for the clothing industry. That one was already done before we knew we needed it. So every raw material that chain needs, we already produce, except one: iron ore. Nothing has been started there. And without iron, there is no steel. And without steel, there are no mechanical parts, no electrical parts, and no train. 5 factories, then the train factory, then trains. 40 years sounded like a lot back in 1940. 20 sounds like considerably less. Which brings us to today. You know how it goes. You expand across the map and you end up with these big empty spaces between everything. Usually that's fine. But for Zarya, I want something different. I want a region that actually feels lived in, where those gaps get filled with things that do something. One giant mechanism, lots of moving gears, all turning at once. So today we are planning 3 of those factories at once: plastic, mechanical components, electrical components, with everything they need around them. The rail line, the warehouse, the utilities, then a rail distribution office to move all of it around the Republic, and then something I didn't expect to be doing at all, but the numbers left me no choice. Let's get into it. And this is one of those voids that I mentioned earlier, one which we're going to work with today. For this area, I want to have a local components production. And the choice of this location is justified by 2 factors. First is the chemical plant. As you probably seen in the intro, chemicals are required for producing a couple of those components. Second, I've got city of Torino, which is right over there, and there are a couple of high-density buildings which haven't been populated yet. Instead of building a new city somewhere in this location, I decided to use already existing infrastructure, such as the railroad, such as the city, with all of its heating, pipes and stuff, and haul all workers over the train track into this new location to start producing components. Alright, let's begin. The first building in that, by the way, autonomous complex is gonna be components. In particular, I'm gonna be starting with electrical components factory, the modern version of it. Not that I need a lot of these components, but I feel like the layout of this building fits nice into this location. So let's find a good spot for electrical components factory first. I want it to be like in the central area, because there will be a lot of buildings around it. So instead of placing it on the sides, I want to find a good spot somewhere over here. And probably we can stick with this position. Sweet. Now, this is just one of those buildings. The next one is gonna be production of plastic. If you hover over the icon of electrical components, you can tell the plastic is required. We don't produce it currently. So let's fix that. And we're gonna need the plastic factory. At the moment in the game, there's only one available, which is this guy here. So I'm gonna take that building, which requires only 60 workers or 180 for 3 shifts, and I'm gonna position it somewhere nearby our components factory. I need to find the right way to place it so that my factory connections and my piping connections are more or less doable with regards to the further connection them to secondary buildings. So let me find the right spot for that, and I feel like this might be a good location for that, maybe a little bit higher, and unfortunately it's a night time. Hopefully you guys can see through it anyway. So that's the one. At the moment we don't need any piping. I'll lay down the pipe later. The foundation of our component production enterprise is almost ready. No, I'm joking. We're gonna go with the next building, and the next building is going to be our warehouse. And I'm gonna use the big one that I have, and I'll explain you why. Here I will use the biggest warehouse that I have available, and this is this building here. It has a lot of factory connections, and it has a very long footprint. This is exactly what we need. Now all I need is to find the right location for it so I can connect two factories at the same time. And I need this connection to the components factory to be as long as possible. And I feel like that would be it. Now we need to connect our plastic production to the warehouse and add the last production building, which is going to be steel components. And the steel components live over here. Not steel, I'm sorry, mechanical components. Mechanical components will be positioned right beneath this warehouse and also connected to it. And I'll explain you as promised just in a second. So what we're going to need is we're going to need to place it behind, and we want to have a little bit of space left so that our roads and pedestrian paths can be connected properly. Perfect. I don't really like how this factory looks, and let me redo it slightly to make it snake shape, like so. Alright, so now warehouse plays the critical role in this whole build, because all of these productions will use resources that they need, and these resources will be stored here. In turn, warehouse will have all the components that are ready for use for our domestic train production. So the warehouse has become a central piece of the whole build over here. But of course, it won't work if we leave it as it is. So let's continue planning, and we're gonna start with the storages first. Both factories that produce components require steel. So we're gonna need a couple of storages. I'm gonna be using a small one. There is no need to have a big ones. So one can live right next to the mechanical components, and the other steel storage will live next to our electrical components factory, and we can position it right over here. Before I forget, I want to have a couple of roads exits to exist already, so that we can use them later on. Alright, unfortunately this building is not really aligned with this, but I feel like we can fix that a little bit later. Now, all of that will be complemented by our cargo train station. This time around, I'm going to be using the mid-size ones. The first can go right next to our steel storage. Something like that. Let me probably align it with the grid so that I have easy times to lay down the rail tracks. And let me check whether we can connect it. We cannot. Both of our components factories will require steel. That's why I mentioned storages. I'm going to be using two small storages. One can live next to one factory and be placed right over here. And the second one, we need to position it slightly to the north from the factory, so that I have a lot of space to lay down our roads, and it can sit right over here. Now, to complement all of that, I'm going to be using cargo stations for trains. One cargo station can be connected to both warehouse and storage on the south, and I feel like that would be a nice area. Not too sure. Yeah, there we go. We have a connection. And let me check if I can connect this factory. Perfect. The second cargo station will be next to it, slightly to the north. Now when I know where the tracks will go, I can position it very accurately. There we go. So, train station over here will be responsible for delivering of resources for construction as well as for dispatching the ready-for-use materials out of that warehouse. This train station here will only be responsible for supplying steel to that storage. I would go with like the biggest one over here, but then we wouldn't be able to lay down the roads. And because we cannot cross factory connections with the roads, I had to figure out an alternative solution, which ended up being using 2 cargo platforms. Let's start laying some roads, shall we? I'm gonna start with the asphalt roads first. I want this road to be around the perimeter, and we need to leave some nodes for ourselves for the future use. The road on the right hand side doesn't really matter where it's gonna be, how far from the cargo station, so we can pretty much drag it right to the top, like so. Connect these 2 pieces, make a nice smooth turn off snapping, and try to connect our train station. Doesn't really want me to, so I'll create a node for myself over here so that we have a 90-degree angle crossing. Something like that, I feel should be fine. There we go. Right, now rails. We need to indicate where the railroad will go, just so that we know which area we shouldn't be occupying, at least for now. Our turning circle is going to be right over here, turning radius, so I can pretty much freely place one road here, one here, and then make a nice turn like so. Alright, for now I don't really know what the road layout will look like, so I'm not gonna touch rail, but I will start working on our road layout. And we can do something very basic, something like that, and then probably connect it like so. Now our plastic factory can have a road going all the way to here. That's going to be the entrance into our production enterprise. With regards to this section, we need this road connection, and we need to connect all these roads. I have a lot of space here in between these 2 cargo stations, and the reason is I needed it for the road crossing. That is why I said we need a little bit of space in this location. Even though I have helicopters, but they won't be able to build everything, so we will need trucks to be able to enter this area. To finish with the road layout on the south, let's get our road connection going. Probably turning to the north, somewhere over here. Like so. And then our railroad connection. I want the railroad to be close to the plastics factory. Let's see if I can do that. Looks like I can. 1 and 2. And let's see if we can make a nice turn. Perfect. Alright. I deliberately leave some empty areas in between the buildings so that I can then put some substations, garbage stations, water substations, and so on and so forth. So therefore, all these gaps will be filled with some useful buildings in the future. Now let's take a look at our northern part of this build. Next stop is to make a connection to the main railroad. And I already see that if I just simply stretch these railroads to the north, I won't be able to make a turn. So we'll have to rebuild it just a little bit. A couple of rail tracks can be sitting right in the middle, over here and over here. And now I need to position this railroad slightly to the left. A little bit of rebuild, but it's worth it. I need this area to be free to drag the pipe. That's why we need to position these railroad tracks slightly to the left. Not a big deal. Here I can have a snake connection, like so, and then I can drag the road to the north. Probably somewhere over here. Let's make the connection itself. As always, one goes right, and another turn goes left. 1 and 2. Perfect. This road on the left-hand side can be connected horizontally and make a nice smooth turn. I deliberately left a little bit of space in between these two so that I can place the checkpoints, and I want to fence all of that area with the brick fence. That is why we have these spaces available for us. Before dealing with the checkpoints, let's finish our build and place the last important one, which is going to be train platform. I'm going to use this for 2,400 workers, not because of its capacity, but purely because of its aesthetics. Let me align the tracks with the grid and the road connection as well. That should do it. And then we can connect our railroad tracks. One, and let's extend it to the left slightly and make a nice turn connecting it to the main line. So what we've done here is we've built a drive-through railroad which will be used by passenger and cargo trains. Perfect. Last touch on this is the road connection, and this road connection can be somewhere over here and can go to the right. Let me turn off the snapping, make a nice turn over here, and our road layout is done. Now we can work with the checkpoints and the fence. As I was saying earlier, I want to have a couple of checkpoints. Couple for the roads and one for the railroad. Let's start with the road one. I'll delete this road completely, and I'm going to use a standard gateway which is available in the vanilla version of the game. I need to position it in a way that it does not intersect with this crossing here, so probably this one will do just fine. Let's restore the road connection, and now let's take out a little bit of rail over here. I don't want to delete everything, I just want to delete probably up until this point. Let's see if the game will complain with regards to the connection. And there is this nice railway fence, which is this one here, and we can place it at the same line as we did for the road. Perfect. Now let's try to connect. 1, 2, 1, 2. Amazing. And same deal for this turn here. We'll remove this turn completely and use the same gate as we used for the road number 1. Align it like so, slightly to the left. Perfect. And now we can connect the road back. The type of the fence I'm going to be using is brick fence. I haven't used it for a while and I feel like it looks very neat. With regards to the fencing itself, it's relatively simple. You just turn on the snapping and then drag your fence around the area, like so. I want to have it a little bit different shapes. For example, something like that will not do. I wanted to have a bit of a sharper angle, like this one. And same goes to the left-hand side. Probably delete a little bit of it. Put another one alongside the road on the left. And then end the loop with connecting to this fence gate, which we can't do, but it is fixable. Let's go here and then here and connect the last piece. So we've got the fence done now. The whole area, which will be producing very important and expensive materials, is now protected from unnecessary visitors, and it's time to work on the interior of this build. I'm gonna start with parking first. There will be personal cars introduced to the Republic, therefore it is time to have parking slots here and there. We have a little bit of space on the right hand side and probably on the left hand side as well. Place it like so. How many cars we have? 28 cars, which is okay. I don't feel like I will need more than that. Now with regards to the pedestrian paths, I want them to be somewhere over here probably. Let's start from our factory first. Let's do this and then connect it like so. Following the same line, let's go here, connect it, and then let's get ourselves another connection, turn off snapping, go all the way here, stretch it a little bit, get to the node, and make connection like so. This one is relatively straight. Let's make something different. For example, one can be horizontal and the other one vertical. That looks better to me. By the way, I forgot about the road. Now, with regards to this location here, I want to place a water treatment plant, the small one for 5 workers. And before I drag the pedestrian path, I need to place this building first so that I know I have connections available to me. Let's put it over here. Therefore, passengers from the platform will be able to work at the water treatment plant. Our plastics factory will also have its connection, and we can do it like so. And now the main thing is to connect our mechanical components production. Here I'm going to be using pedestrian tunnels. These extend the travel path and they're relatively easy to build. One here and another one probably over here like so. All we need now is just to connect the tunnel. That would be way bigger of a tunnel. Let me make it a little bit smaller. There we have it. Now, we do need to connect this road to our factory. So how we're going to do that? Because if I check, the pedestrians can only come here. Potentially they will be able to reach mechanical components, but I don't want to risk it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place another connection like so and connect it straight to the building. If it doesn't work, I'll make a loop and redo the area a little bit. It's not the end of the world. Okay, now what we're going to do first is we're going to take care about all of the utilities that we need for this location. First in the row is going to be water. We have already placed water treatment plant, so all we need to do is to get some wells. And since we are in modern industry era, I can use these automatic wells which do not require any workers. So one can be right over here, and I want to place another one in front of the first one. Let's make it here. We're gonna need the pump. I'm gonna be using a big one here. Can be right there, and we're gonna use a couple of small pipes. As I said, this production will not require a lot of workers. Therefore, small diameter pipes will do just fine. And we need to have something like a medium pipe. Let's take a look at the flow rate. So 26 meters and they will produce 56. Okay. The 56 pipe should do. Just in case, I will leave one connection open and we'll connect the pipe like so. Perfect. Now water substations, we can go, I think we can actually get away with just one. So we have exit over there. Let's place it like so. Probably this would be better. And we need a small pump, which can leave. Let's make it here. And then connect via small diameter pipe like this. 1 and 2. Now, the next stop is electricity. And electricity will be provided by power transformer. We have high voltage power station over here. All we need to do is to connect underground wire. Again, I don't anticipate too much of electricity consumption, so 12 megawatts per hour should be sufficient. Here I'm going to use wires like that. The road is blocking me, so I'm going to use this connection instead. 1 and 2. And then a couple of substations. I'm going to be using the ones from the early access. I just like the way they look. They have a very tiny footprint. We're going to need one right here. Probably on this side would be better. So this covers pretty much the whole area, but the consumption will be higher than the capacity of that station. So let me put a couple more. Normally I would do perimeter placing like this, for example. So that's number 2, and we need one for this area to feed all of these buildings like so. Underground wires again. I'll probably leave that connection for something else. And I'll get my wire connected like this. Sometimes game does this, I'm not too sure what is causing it. Let's try and fix it. Yeah, that's better. This is one. We've got another one here. This connection will be right there. And the last one was over here. There we go. Let's probably stretch it. Another one can go under the factory, connect all of it. We need to choose the game just a little bit, or maybe instead of doing so, we will just shorten the wire and lay it down like that. There we go. Now connect these two pieces. Almost there. Now the electricity is done. Let's have a look whether everyone has it. It looks like they have. Perfect. What about our wells? Perfect. Alright, with regards to the sewage, it is relatively simple. I have a sewage discharge situated over there. The pipe will probably be a bit long, so it will have to be stretched all the way through to that location, but that's fine. I feel like I have enough money to build one of those pipes. For now, I'll just place a sewage tank, and the sewage tank can live as close to the future discharge direction as possible. We have only 1, 2, 3 production buildings which require sewage, so this one should be fine. And I really don't need any asphalt road, I just need dirt road connection here. Checking, sewage done, water done, electricity done. It's time for garbage stations. Garbage stations can live pretty much anywhere. That's why I've been leaving a lot of space for specifically for this. 1, 2, and this is also a production building. Where do we want the garbage stand to be? Probably in this location here. Would be amazing. Now I want to place a couple of decorational elements, and one of those is going to be a fountain. And for some reason, at least to me, it makes sense to make a fountain next to the water treatment plant. There we go. And I want to have a monument right in front of the entrance of the area. And something like that. A big star. There we go. Connected. And we've got a new monument which I haven't used yet, and that's going to be this tank monument. And this tank monument can be situated right beneath our mechanical components. Kind of makes sense like so. Alright. This is how the monument looks like in the blueprint. I'll show you later how it looks like when it's fully built. Perfect. I feel like this zone is fully planned, it's fully ready to be constructed. Let's take a look. And this is the first production building we started from, production of electronical components. We then went and added plastic production, then the big warehouse. After that we added mechanical components production, then storages for steel, cargo train platforms for material delivery. Then we added a passenger platform, and of course a couple of parkings and our fence gates. So the whole area looks complete, and when there will be trees and there will be cars moving in along with trains, the area will look lived in, I promise. The next project that we're gonna tackle today is gonna be the distribution hub. We need a lot of trains and we need a lot of goods to be moved back and forward. Therefore, I've decided to use this void here to place a couple of rail distribution offices. Let's get into it. I'm gonna go with train distribution office from Early Start DLC. The reason: I don't produce any fuel inside the Republic of Zarya, therefore my fuel expenses are growing rapidly every day. So I don't want the Republic of Zarya to fall behind purely because I don't have fuel produced in it. We're gonna stick with steam locomotives for now. And because steel locomotives need coal, we're gonna need coal delivered into this location. And this could be delivered by the trains. In order to make so, I'm gonna place a couple of conveyor overpasses which will be connected to our storage, the aggregate one. This can sit right next to these conveyor overpasses. Now, the coal will be delivered by the train, and instead of making that big loop and then loop it in here, I want to stretch my middle line, middle railroad, which is coming through the fields, and connect it right to the aggregate unloading station, which can sit anywhere pretty much. We just need to make sure it is connected to our storage. There we go. Now let me just drag the roads first and see what layout of the railroad we want to have. It's probably not a bad idea to stretch this road all the way. Since we started doing connection of all the railroads, I feel like it makes sense to connect this line to this. Trains will choose the best path that they want. So let me just indicate where the railroad can be. And this railroad can go right here. And we will make a nice switch in this location. Before doing so, however, this is going to be our dead end, so we need to make a cross so that the trains can turn around. So they will get in, unload and get out. Let me increase the length of that section and only then intersect. Like so. Perfect. On the other side, instead of doing standard intersection, let's do something different. For example, if we create a couple of parallel connections and then merge it nicely into the main line, I feel like this would be better in terms of the way it looks. Now, let's work on the road connections. We can make something interesting, for example, something that looks symmetrical. If we can connect this road nicely, like so, and then a drive-through road here, and we have 1, 2, 3 squares from the building, so let's do exactly the same. Loop it into the storage, and then connect overpasses to this road. Now, this road will not be able to intersect. It will be, but I just don't want the way it looks, don't like the way it looks. So we're gonna make something like that. And we need to stretch that road up until highway and then do something different as well. That should work. Now we need to have this connection, and in order to make it symmetrical, let's do exactly the same. So this is our second connection. Perfect. Alright, now the railroad itself. With regards to the layout of the tracks, I'm going to be using all connections that I have available to me. Our main line will be connected to these two, so let's stretch them right away to about this area. Same goes for the second track. Now we need to merge them together to make them situated a bit closer one to the other. In order to do so, I'll simply place one track here, another one there and try to make a nice smooth connection like so. Our spare tracks or waiting tracks can be situated on both sides from the main line, like so. And obviously we're gonna need to make a switch, one here and the same switch on the other side, so that the trains can change the tracks. We don't need this node, and we need to connect the whole thing now, which is possible to do. We just need to allow for some space for another switch, so that trains have access to both distribution offices at the same time. Okay, we have one. Let's see if we have another one. We have another one. And now let's connect this line with the rest of the Republic. Perfect. There we go. Now we have a connection of the rail distribution hub to our main line. Trains can come and can go from both directions, and they have a lot of tracks to get in and get out. Now this zone is missing utilities, so let's go with water, because this is the simplest one. The water tower can live somewhere next to the road, like here for example. I don't need any pumps here, but I do need a switch. Switch can be right next to it, probably over here. Let's connect the pipe. The water consumption isn't really high. All we need to do is to provide the basic diameter of the pipe. One connection here, and the other one can be right over here. And we're gonna get water from our well, from our big pumping station. And we're gonna stretch one pipe over here and then connect it right here. Perfect. Because we already have this pump, we don't need anything in between, so the water will be pumping into the tower, and then tower will distribute the water throughout the area over there. Now, electricity is also relatively simple. We just need to have a power transformer. This transformer can live next to the station, next to the water tower, excuse me, and place it like so. We should have a spare high voltage connection, which is right there. We don't need too much power, so I'm gonna go with the lowest capacity, probably these guys. And because high voltage cables will be stretched down to the production zone, I'll first place them and stretch them to the right so that I know they belong here. And then I'm gonna go with probably underground connection. I don't like when the wires are crossing, it doesn't look really natural. So this connection should be fine. There we go. Perfect. Wires do not stick out, this is what we want to see. Now, our substation, one can be here, and another one can be right here. Underground wires again. However, here I feel like we may actually want to have our standard pillars. And which one do we want? I'll probably go with these ones. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. The whole area is now complete. And let's have a look. And there you have it. A modern rail distribution complex ready for a lot of trains and a lot of wagons to be stored here and to distribute our goods throughout the Republic. Alright, let's move to the final stage of this episode. And the next stage and the final stage for today's episode is city extension. I think I was a little bit too shy when I was planning this location, and I don't believe now I have enough workers to feed our mining operation and our steel production, plus coal processing and iron processing. So just in case I need more workers, I want to use this space, which is in front of us, in order to extend the city and place a couple of residential buildings along with secondary infrastructure which our citizens need. So let's get into it. When we were doing planning of this location, I completely forgot about distribution offices and technical offices. I left this square here specifically for them, but I've never actually planned them. So let's fix that. First, we're gonna use the biggest distribution office for 12 cars, and I want it to be in this corner, as close to the corner as possible. One is gonna be there, and I want to mirror and place another one right in front of it over here. I feel like this will be almost in line. Perfect. Now, technical offices. There will be a lot of waste produced in this location, so again, we're gonna go with the biggest technical service office possible. And one is gonna be right here. I just want to align it with the distribution office on the top. Take the road connection out, mirror it, and do the same thing for this side. Perfect. Now we have this enterprise ready for operation. Connect the roads 1 and 2. And I want to cancel construction. I don't want construction offices to be busy with this one for now. Now we have this road depot on the way. The cars, what are they? Not really weird and tiered, so I'll probably use them somewhere else. Right now I'll just send them back to the depot over here. Let's wait a little bit. They've gone now. We can now destroy temporary depot. I use that for terraforming of that location. And the general plan here is to extend this road up until pretty much this location. I have already built pedestrian paths and all the roads in the city. That's my normal approach, therefore I will have to demolish some of them. Like so. So let's get that done. And while we're planning, our demolition officers will be busy doing so. So then I can connect this road to this intersection and make the whole drive-through possible around this section. Now let's get into the commercial zone first and then to residentials. I had to put the game on pause. It's 19th of November and the snow will come very soon, which will make impossible to see anything in the screen even for me, not to mention you guys. So let's continue planning. I'm gonna stretch the road to separate an extension of the city from the main city, just for the sake of design. Now, the next stop is our commercial district, which I feel like can be situated in this top left corner. I'm gonna go with the biggest supermarket from Early Start DLC for 245 people. Even though it has relatively huge internal storage capacity, I don't wanna rely on that, so I'm gonna deliberately have a couple of external storages. First is going to be a freezer for 75 tons of meat. I don't anticipate any problems with this capacity. Put it here, and we have a small warehouse just outside of the supermarket, which can live right over here. Next stop is the central piece of the city, which is always a bus platform. I'm gonna go with the one for 800 workers. And this bus platform can live right over here. And this is very good location because the length of the street, which we just did, this one here, is slightly over 400 meters. Therefore, whoever's going to live in this area will be able to reach the supermarket via the bus stop, which is what we need. Let's connect the road and work on this side of the street. And this is a nice place to have our first university, medical university of the Republic. I completely forgot about it. I had a plan to build one, but then for some reason, it came out of my mind. It has a bracket form factor as well as many of the districts were built in this city, so I feel like it fits the design absolutely perfectly. Now, university halls of residence. I'm gonna go with the thin building over here. It is very small and nice and can fit into any location, pretty much any location. So one go here, and the empty space we just created for ourselves will be occupied by basketball court. Then we need to stretch probably this road like so, connect our halls of residence, and then stretch our pedestrian paths to the right, making sure we will be able to make a connection to the bus stop. Yes, we can, which is what we need. Make curved entrances to the university, and now we can start planning our residential area. Here I'm gonna go with the buildings which already exist in this city. 220 capacity ones, prefab. One is gonna live right in front of the bus station, the other one nearby the first one, and we want to have another one to be right there. I have a little bit of plan for this area, and to make that plan happen, I need to remove the pedestrian paths we've just planned. I'll lay them down later. That's not the end of the world. So I want this area to be wrapped around by the pedestrian paths, like so that we have access to everything citizens need. Also, there's going to be a small park area, which we'll create using those pedestrian paths. One here, take off snapping, make a nice round turn, and we free up some space for fountain. And this rectangular one, to my opinion, fits absolutely amazing. Connect one road, and here at the edge we can use a new monument, which we haven't used before. It's going to be a monument to the Nicholas I. And let's put it right in the middle for now. And let's get ourselves a nice straight pedestrian line. There is no node, but that's fine. I think I can live with that. Now it's turn for the secondary infrastructure, school and kindergarten. On the left-hand side, I'm gonna place a kindergarten for 120 pupils capacity. This one here has a nice form factor, which I like. And we can place it like so, aligning it slightly with the building in front of it. On the right-hand side, I'm gonna go with school, this time around again from Early Start DLC, and I'm gonna place it right in front of the building on the right. There we go. I should be able to run straight line of the pedestrian paths. And it's time to finish this residential area with a couple of big towers, which we've also used in this build already. So one tower can live right here, and we need to place it as close to the pedestrian path as possible so that we have a little bit of space left. Here and here. Perfect. This area will be occupied by a couple of children playgrounds, like so. And now we have 2 squares or 2 empty spaces, which we can fill with big parking slots. One is going to be for 28, and I feel like the other one will have exact same capacity. Perfect. Let's see if we can connect as a straight line, and apparently we can. This no longer required. And let's finish our pedestrian paths with these nice turns. Okay, the only area where we don't have pedestrian paths is here, and we're gonna make something very simple, something like that. And same on the other side from the other building. Perfect. These guys need access to this road, as well as these guys, and put some pedestrian paths over here as well, so that citizens can actually reach the bus stop. Now, with regards to the bus stop, we'll just quickly redo the layout so that the bus stop can be connected. It's not 90-degree connection, but I will survive. Let's take a look. Everyone has access to the bus station, which is what we need, and it looks like everyone can reach the supermarket. We've We've just created about 1,000 workers over here, which is amazing, which is what we need. And to finish with the residential, we're gonna need to place a couple of lasers. First is gonna be theater. I haven't used this building, and to be honest, I haven't seen it in the game. Maybe it was added with the recent update. So the theater will be situated right here, and next to it we're gonna have our indoor pool. Unfortunately, there is no other small profile building, and I'm gonna be using indoor pool here as well. To have access to this, we're gonna need one crossing added over here, and we probably can loop this road something like that, because everyone else has access to it. Now let's take a look. Can people go there? So far they for some reason cannot. I'm not too sure what's happening. Probably let's add one crossing in this location. What about now? Yeah, everyone can reach. I am pretty sure they were able to reach even without it, but let's stay on the safe side of things. Okay, that's an extension done. It's time to take a look at the final version of it. Well, friends, this is how the final version of the city looked like. Well, at least before I planted all the trees here and there. Today we did an extension, and this extension is right in front of you. We have our distribution offices, we have technical offices, we then added medical university, commercial zone, and of course residential, with a nice monument over here. Offline I added a couple of garbage stations, which I decided not to include into this video because it's been quite long enough already. And yeah, our leisure facilities, a museum and indoor pool. The city now looks cohesive. It misses a few things, a few details, decorational details I would say, but we can add them later. Alright, well, welcome to the outro of this episode. So that's the day. 3 production sites laid out with everything they need. The rail line running through them, the warehouses, the power, the water, the sewage, and rail distribution office to keep all of it moving around the Republic. And the extension to the Steel City, which I genuinely did not plan on building when I sat down. Remember this from the start of the episode? Here is where it stands now. Plastics planned, mechanical components planned, electrical components planned. 3 of the 5 in a single session. But look at what's still red. The steel mill is still just a plan on the map, and iron ore hasn't been touched at all. Which means every factory we drew today is waiting on a material this Republic doesn't produce yet. That's the next job. And one honest note before we finish. I sat down today to plan factories, and halfway through I realized the city next to them simply doesn't have the people to run them. I was doing this backwards, drawing the industry first and working out the workforce afterwards. Which brings me to something I'd actually like your help with. How do you handle this? Do you count the workers before you plan the industry, or do you build first and fix the housing afterwards? Let me know down in the comments, because I clearly needed a better system. And if there's a good answer in there, I'll feature it in the next episode. Next time in Zarya, we keep filling those empty spaces with the last city this Republic will ever build. And this one has a single purpose. It exists to staff train production. There's also a poll waiting for you in the community tab about a possible construction stream, so go and have your say on that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.